You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
Good morning and welcome to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, Kevin Butenoff. Coming to you live from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. You can also leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Coming up on the show, Pat Kreitlow from Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. Joining us after the 9:30 news, along with the founder for Motherhood for Good, Kate Duffy.
Mm-hmm.
Kate's going to be here to talk about a little video that's kind of going viral.
Yeah.
Featuring none other than Wisconsin's own Popcorn King.
The Popcorn King is here.
Robin Voss.
He'll be here later. His horses have arrived.
He's arrived. Robin Voss had a little exchange with Luann Bird.
Mm-hmm.
We're good friends with Luann Bird.
Yep.
And Kate Duffy was there.
No. She took the video and she
did a whiteboard about it.
Yeah, she broke it down and gave you all the information.
Yeah. So we're going to kick that around with Pat Kreitlow and Kate Duffy after the 9:30 news. Little exchange between Robin Voss and Luann Bird that happened yesterday. It should be very, very interesting. In hour number 2, I'm really excited about this. Lynn Poynton is going to join us, and she is with the Game Board. And it's a place where you go play games.
Yes.
Board games.
Yes.
Specifically. And there are things about board games that are really good for you.
Absolutely.
Which I think is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about board games and what board games do for you, and then we're going to talk about what board games you play.
Yes.
Find out what kinds of things you like, and again, what it's doing for your brain, because it's good for us.
Yeah, especially if they're slightly educational games, and plus also, we'll talk about this later too, but just the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Interacting
face to face with humans. It's a thing.
I have the internet. It's fine.
And then in the last half hour of the show that we call Audio Sorbet, where we try and lighten things up and get away from the news and take a break from everything. An ear clearing, as it were.
An ear clearing.
Oh. That's one way to look at it.
Audio Sorbet gets the wax out.
There you go. There's a new tagline for our merch.
Yeah.
Yes, Calvin? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought, Calvin, you were grabbing your microphone there.
No, I was just adjusting it to get it out of my camera view. I'm sorry.
Oh, not a problem. So the Uline Company.
Oh, yeah. Of the people, community base, just concerned about our democracy.
Recipients of great big tax cuts.
Oh.
They're having apparently problems keeping people on the job. And they have some reasons they think that they can't keep people for more than 2 years.
Yeah. I don't even have to read a story to know why that would be a problem.
But we're going to kick around why you quit a job.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm curious to see if your reasons align with what the Uline Company thinks are the reasons why they can't keep people for longer than 2 years. So that's coming up after 10:30. And then we will wrap up the show as we always do with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it is the Boulder Dash edition that you want to stick around
This
for.
one is action-packed.
It is action-packed.
Yeah.
So that's at the very end of the show around 10:51. Also, just a reminder, it is underway. Our Scotty Summer Text to Win contest coming up in the 11 o'clock hour with Tom Hartman. He is going to give you a keyword that you want to text in by noon. If it happens at 11, you have to text it in by noon.
Yeah.
And then you are in the running for some incredible prizes, either $100 cash or a pair of Milwaukee Brewers club level tickets. And then everyone is entered into the grand prize. Summer vacations in either Door County or Baraboo. Gas money to get you there.
I love that point.
Right?
That's always impressed me.
It's nice. And you have 4 chances to enter over the next 2 weeks. 7 o'clock hour with Pat Kreitlow, 11 o'clock hour with Tom Hartman, 2 o'clock with Todd Alba, and then in the 4 p.m. hour with Maggie Dawn. It is underway right now, our Scotty Summer Text to Win contest. So stick around again. Tom Hartman will have your word for you after 11 o'clock. Going to start off with something that we meant to get to yesterday and just didn't get around to it about Medicaid.
Yes. Yeah.
In the House bill.
They want to fix it.
But nothing's going to be cut, Greg. There are no cuts.
What?
They're preserving it.
Oh.
They're going to preserve Medicaid, at least according to Mike Johnson, who was on Meet the Press on Sunday. But this morning, as I was going through social media and just looking at stuff, Senator Roger Marshall, who is a Republican, was on Fox News this morning talking to Maria Bartiromo about Medicaid, and he said something that I think that is worth playing. Calvin, do we have that clip from Senator Roger Marshall, please?
You believe that you will have the vote. You believe that you will have the votes for this package, and you will be able to identify more spending cuts by the July 4th deadline, or is this going to take longer?
Look, I'm still remain optimistic. Ron Johnson, Rick Scott, all those people, Mike Lee and I share the same goal. On the other hand, as you mentioned, we got folks that are afraid of the small Medicaid cuts that we made already, Medicaid cuts that are going to strengthen Medicaid and save it for those who need it the most. So we're pretty far apart yet. We have 53 Republican senators. We have 53 opinions. We're trying to work through all that. I've been real impressed with John Thune and Mike Crapo's ability to bring everybody together. You know, they're leading the charge right now, so I have confidence we'll get there. But we're not done, Maria. We will need to come back and do more rescissions, but also take a second and third bite of this apple. Let's get the one big beautiful bill across the finish line, then let's come back and get a second and third bite.
So it does include cuts.
Yes.
Those words came out of his mouth. I did not mishear that.
Correct. Yes. It's always included cuts. It's always been a problem where they're going to say, you know, we need to, and they're gonna sell it as the cuts are going to be all that waste, fraud, and abuse that's been dealt over which, if you look it up, the research will show there are problems with federal safety net programs with fraud, with abuse,
yes.
with things of that nature.
Yes,
but they're not. They're going to make regular folks suffer, and they're not going to do anything about businesses.
Well, and that's where my gripe is.
Yeah.
It seems to be, at least anecdotally, a lot of the fraud that happens with Medicaid falls under certain providers who provide certain services, and they get the Medicaid dollars that are supposed to then offer programs to folks who are on Medicaid.
Yeah.
It seems like, I don't know, one could say the former governor of Florida,
current senator,
Rick Scott, who had a little business that was convicted of one of the biggest Medicaid frauds in history, I believe.
Yes, it was with his company. He was
he made a lot of money.
He was the CEO of a group called Columbia HCA, and he had to resign in 1997 because they were part of the largest healthcare fraud settlement at the time of $1.7 billion with a B as in boy.
Yeah.
As in big, beautiful blob dollars. And
nothing happened to Rick Scott, by the way.
No, nothing.
Nothing.
God, he got to be governor, and then he got to be senator. I mean, I think next he gets to be president of the moon next. I mean, it's just it's the rich failing upwards as they always get to do. Meanwhile, folks like me, you, our grandmas, grandpas, uncles, aunts, and people's kids will suffer because they are going to not cut, Jane. They're going to save.
They're going to preserve.
They're going to preserve.
It's preserving.
They're going to preserve it with less.
Mike Johnson, as we mentioned, appeared on Meet the Press over the weekend. He pushed back on some projections that this budget bill will lead to 4.8 million people who will lose coverage because of work requirements. But Mike Johnson says that's not going to happen. They're not going to lose coverage unless they choose to do so.
As in what? Like they forget to check a box or something? Or it's
right. He doesn't really go into a lot of detail about that.
Let me guess. We have to listen to him talk.
We do have a clip from Mike Johnson.
Oh, what did I do to you?
Calvin, let's play that clip, please.
Do you have any actual evidence that these people that you refer to are engaging in fraud?
Well, there is a tremendous amount of fraud in Medicaid. It's undisputed.
What?
Tens of billions of dollars every year are lost in fraud to Medicaid. So there's another category of people, 1.2 million, that are totally ineligible to be on the program. We also have evidence of people who are listed and enrolled in multiple programs in multiple states simultaneously, and they are cheating the system. I'm going to say this very clearly. Yeah. Our legislation preserves Medicaid, strengthens Medicaid for the people who actually need it and deserve it, and we're going to get rid of the fraud, waste, and abuse, and that is a long time overdue.
Okay. All right.
I don't dispute that. That is probably overdue.
So just a cursory search, and Google provides that over a decade, it was fraud and errors amounts to a little over $1 trillion, because Medicaid is one of our biggest expenses.
Yes.
Next to Social Security
and
and
Medicare.
The military.
Oh.
But when we assign things like fraud and abuse, that allows people to put in their heads these nefarious individuals at their home saying, I'm taking all this money. When it's really not, it has to do more with how payments are obtained. Payments are not obtained through the people. They're paid for by the people, but the people, when you, like, if I own a company that works with Medicaid, I am doing the coding. I can upcode. I can double bill, unbundle, I'm looking at kickbacks. There's all sorts of ways of gaming the system, and it's not being done by the people who need it. It's being done by these terrible companies who may or may not have been headed up by a former governor, now senator of Florida. So when we talk about fraud, waste, and abuse, we should absolutely go after all of those things.
Yes.
But also, let's not punish the people. And I don't know, maybe prosecute the people who are in these companies committing literal crimes.
Fraud is a crime.
Absolutely.
Fraud is a crime, and that's been kind of our whole thing since the very beginning of all of this, is if you are finding all of this fraud, where are these court cases?
That's why.
Where is it? Where is
the proof? Show
proof.
Your work.
Yeah, the proof kind of being the important question.
I have to imagine there was just so much fraud and abuse, Jane, that it just overwhelmed Elon so much that he had to leave Doge and the government entirely. He was like, there's too much abuse. There's too much fraud, Jane. I got to put the chainsaw down and walk away and make cars that don't run on gas. This is such a load of garbage because Mike Johnson, I wasn't going to swear.
Be careful.
No, I wasn't going to swear. I just was looking for the wrong word. The Speaker of the House, he just says, "Oh, it's incontrovertible."
It's incontrovertible.
There it is. Where, yeah.
But again, they've done this for years. They know intuitively.
Yeah.
They know intuitively that millions and millions of people who shouldn't be voting are voting. They have no proof for that. He knows it in his heart.
Yeah.
He knows it in his heart.
And all this is an effort to gin up support from people who agree with them so they can simply just go, see, he said it. So I don't have to do any more research. I don't have to know anything else because that guy said it and I like that guy. So therefore they should cut Medicaid. And then in 2, 3, 6 months, they'll be like, why can't I get my Medicaid? Why is it less? Why is it gone? I didn't vote for this.
Mike Johnson says 4.8 million people will not lose Medicaid unless they choose to do so. Again, there are already work requirements in place. We spoke to someone who receives Medicaid. Mm-hmm. There are work requirements in place. There are checks to make sure on a yearly basis that the situation hasn't changed. These things are already in existence.
In the search for all this waste, abuse, and fraud, one thing, I said it last week and I'll keep saying it, that the government actually works better than we assumed. There's things in place
that do work.
Yeah.
When we return, Doge has done it, or maybe not. That's all on the way. Stay close. You are listening to Matt Nair on air on this Civic Media Radio Network. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
Good morning. Welcome to Matt Nair on air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, and the Board Lord coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. You can also leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We got baseball coming up a little bit later on today. The Crew are on a roll.
8 in a row.
I know.
2 sweeps.
Pretty great.
Wow, I can't wait for it all to come crashing down. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Says a true fan.
Yeah.
The Brewers at the Reds this afternoon. Our broadcast starts at 5:35. You can listen to the game, but you have to listen on terrestrial radio. So catch it on WRCE in Richland Center, WISS in Oshkosh, WRJN here in Racine and Kenosha, WCQM in Park Falls near Butternut.
Butternut.
And WBZH in Hayward. The Crew at the Reds. Go Crew. Our broadcast starts today at 5:35. This is something that I think can slip past a lot of folks. The government comes out and says, look at this great thing we did.
Mm-hmm.
And no one double checks to see if the great thing was actually done.
What?
Doge.
Oh, yeah.
Doge seems to do this quite frequently, take a lot of wins. Look at what we did. We're Doge. Yay.
Now look over here. We're doing something else.
And then it turns out what they said was not exactly what happened. So Doge has come out and said that they have made sure that people who were not supposed to be getting paid Social Security are no longer getting paid Social Security. If you remember, in a speech on March 4th, Donald Trump said that, quote, we are identifying shocking levels of incompetence and probable fraud in the Social Security program for seniors. Believe it or not, government databases list 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129. Money is being paid to many of them.
Wait. Hit the reverse real quick. From ages what to what?
Yes. Now, this has been talked about. The Social Security database uses a really old programming language, which doesn't have a standardized way to store dates. That's how old the system is.
Yeah.
So a default date, like 1875, they picked a number out of the sky as a default date. So they picked like 1875 for people who did not have birth information. Okay. And again, not everybody had easy access to birth certificates, even 80 years ago.
Yeah.
When Musk's team entered Social Security system, they found people listed in the system with ages of like 120.
So instead of doing one Google search or asking one of the people who's been there for a while, they went out there and just said 100 to 100.
Millions.
Well, I remember. See, that's funny because I remember hearing Elon, and I don't have the clip, but he has said it. It was in an interview, and he said it with shock of like, there are people out there. There was a person out there who is over the age of 250. What are you talking about?
Yeah, there is no follow up on that. You may want to, if you see something like that, I don't know, like you said, you may want to just Google it.
Show your work.
Take a look. In 2023, it was recommended that the Social Security system be cleaned up so that those deaths were permanently recorded.
Yeah.
They had found that a vast majority of beneficiaries who didn't have a birth date, again, listed to 1875, most of those people have since died.
And do not receive those benefits.
No, they do not.
There it is.
So they claimed that 12 million people were getting improper payments. Actually, these people were dead. So Doge appears to have implemented a plan suggested a couple of years ago. But now they are coming out, Doge is coming out and saying, look what we did. We stopped all these people from illegally getting Social Security, even though that's not what happened.
Nope. Never. It's never what, and if you do, and I would love to find someone who could come on, and I would have them on for half an hour or an hour to really take people by the hand to explain to them the beginning, middle, and end. And Doge is not done, but I'm talking about the Elon months of what they have done to this country in the ways of not finding fraud, not finding abuse, not finding wasteful spending, but instead costing us so much money through their operations that it's going to take, I've heard estimates between a few years to a decade, maybe longer, to repair this.
Well, and as you said, stuff like this gets out there, and then it is presented as truth. Senator Tim Scott, Doge just marked 12.3 million people aged 20 and above as deceased in the Social Security database. Democrats are losing their minds. This fraud is being cleaned up. Yeah, no, they weren't getting payments. Yeah.
Poor Tim Scott. He got the the fuzzy end of that lollipop. He got nothing in the White House. Nothing. That man licked boots from the beginning, and he got nothing. Big old goose egg.
He's still waiting.
Oh, but he's still a senator. It's fine.
There's a reward down there somewhere down the road.
Yeah.
He just has to be patient. We have news coming up next, and then when we return, he is the host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. Pat Kreitlow will be here along with the founder of Motherhood for Good. Karen Duffy is joining us. Kate Duffy, yes, it starts with a K. Words are hard.
Yeah.
You are listening to Matt Nair on air. This is the Slightly Confused Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning and welcome to Matt Nair on air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, and Sweet Gal B coming to you live from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us. Call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. He joins us every other Tuesday at this time, the host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, the aforementioned Pat Kreitlow, broadcasting live from his home at Lake Wissota. Good morning, Pat.
Getting the yacht rock fix that I need every Tuesday morning. God bless you people.
You know where to come.
I do.
We got your fix. We got your taste.
from a very smoky, rainy. I've actually got Ronnie Millsap in my head. Smoky Mountain Rain, because we got this smoky rain. I've never seen this before.
Seriously,
you think the rain would? You think the rain would wash it out? No, it's coming in with the system. It's insane.
Well, keep that in mind as well. We are under some advisories as far as air quality is concerned because of the smoke from the Canadian wildfires. So be aware of that. We are delighted to be joined right now along with Pat Kreitlow, the founder of Motherhood for Good. Kate Duffy is here. Good morning, Kate. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
We wanted to talk to you because you did a little Katie Porter kind of whiteboard breakdown yesterday after Luann Byrd, who is a friend of the show, we've had on the show many, many times. Luann Byrd had a little exchange with no one other than the Speaker of the Assembly, Robin Vos, who we like to affectionately call the Popcorn King. We do have a clip from that exchange.
We're going to play the clip of the exchange, and then, Kate, you can take over once it's done about what you talked about in your video.
Okay.
Great. Play that clip, Calvin, please.
I do quite a few of these. I guess I look at it and say we just don't have, we already have enough welfare in Wisconsin. I really don't know why we
welfare thing.
Oh, it's 100%. Yeah. Okay. And we already see there have a chance of problems with funding Medicaid as it is.
Well, that's going to get worse. We know that. So why not? Why not fund poor people?
What do you mean?
Why not take care of poor people, women?
Well, they already have access to Obamacare for free. Feel free to come in and sign
that
in
might
here,
change.
over here. Well, it doesn't right now.
But still, postpartum care, I guess, doesn't get covered.
It does. Feel free to come right over here and sign. Correct, but it would on Obamacare, which is why we want people that want Obamacare.
So you
feel free to come right in and sign in.
Fund it because it's a poverty thing.
No. That's not what I said.
What did you say? What was the word you said?
So there's two ways for people to get insurance: private sector, public sector.
Yeah.
Public sector should be last resort, not first draw.
That's enough, Calvin. It's kind of hard to hear, but Robin Vos essentially tells Luann Byrd when she asks about coverage for poorer people that Obamacare is free. That the ACA it's free.
I didn't know that, Jane.
So everybody should be good. Pat, what'd you
drag him, Kate? Do it.
Yeah.
So this was interesting. So Luann went to one of his listening sessions a couple weeks ago, and I have heard his listening sessions. He doesn't really take just any question. It's like a very kind of stricter format.
I bet.
It looks like in the video, I think she got there early and just kind of like went and talked to him really quick, which is like so Luann. And she got this and she actually sent it to me. And so part of it surprised me and part didn't, right? The welfare part, we've heard him say that a lot about this postpartum Medicaid and blocking it. And as a reminder to everybody listening, this is like so supported by everybody on both sides. It already passed the Senate 32-1. It has the support of 74 out of 99 assembly members, including many from his own caucus.
Just to clarify, Kate, what you're talking about is extending this postpartum coverage for a year.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not even expanding it to more people. It's just allowing the people who are eligible for it, the women who have access to Medicaid because they're pregnant and postpartum, just extending that time to 12 months as opposed to kicking them off at 60 days. And we are one of only 2 states who has not done that.
Right. So, and Robin Voss's whole contention is that that's expanding welfare. if we do that.
Yes. And he said that before. He already thinks we have enough welfare, yada, yada, yada. I would love if like somebody could just ask him when they have him, well, what is welfare? Because, it's not like it's more of an ideology, not necessarily a policy. And why is he calling this welfare, but not, support for school vouchers?
Or the loan that he got for his business during the pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not welfare.
It's definitely a strategic word he uses when he's talking about certain things. But besides that, it was interesting that he said 3 times in that clip, well, we don't need it. Those women can just get on Obamacare for free. Again, another word he's deliberately using, Obamacare instead of the ACA. Because that's not true. And he said it like 3 times.
Yeah. That was the thing, was like I when I heard that, and trying to keep the professionalism in my voice here, but when you watch when you watch the video, the sneering and the condescension of his words, the way he speaks to Luann, who is just trying to get an answer, and he just speaks from a place of, like, that was the question I had, is he's either lying or he's ill-informed. And I don't think he's ill-informed. I think he knows that Obamacare isn't free. But he says things like that and just he allows it to just be out there in the world, and he walks away. He's like, yeah, I told her. Yep.
Yeah. And I wasn't like fully surprised to hear him say that because I have like a large community who calls about this all the time, and they call their own reps. I have heard from some people from their reps, like Shay Sortwell and a couple other ones, that their reps have been telling them, well, we don't need it because these women can just get on Obamacare for free. And that's why I said in the video that I did, like, I just showed the math. It's like, no, you can't. Maybe. So there's like, you're eligible for the Medicaid based on where you are in regards to the poverty level.
Right.
Obviously, it goes up when you are pregnant and postpartum. But the ACA is like, that has different stipulations too. So there may be a case where somebody can get like almost free or very low cost. But again, that's very rare. And even if they can get that, it's like then going through all the paperwork and trying to apply and going through all that when you have a 6-week-old, like, give me a break.
Yeah. That's something we've talked about too, is the fact that this isn't just you walk in the room, press a button, and you get all this money for.
Right. Or you fill out one sheet. It's not. We're not talking about a 1-sheet application.
I made the example last week. This is how strict Badger Care is. I once tried to apply for it many years ago, and I made $19 over the accepted, and that was it. There was no negotiation. There was no do this. It was literally, you make this much, sorry, you're not eligible, and that was the end of the conversation. So there are guardrails in place. And this isn't about pregnant or parents who have had children who are gaming the system. This is something that everyone agrees upon.
Most.
Here's what you have to remember about the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, is that it is not public insurance. There is no public option.
Right.
Joe Lieberman killed the public option idea for the Affordable Care Act. So if you're getting support, you're getting premium credits to purchase private insurance from private companies.
Yep.
The Affordable Care Act just makes some of that care from private companies more affordable. What Robin Voss is doing is, once again, playing the role of Joe Lieberman and saying, we don't want you to have the public option of Medicaid. We will steer you toward these private companies as we continue to try to knock down the Affordable Care Act, so that once again, these private companies can deny coverage on a whim. So for him, it's less about the new moms now than it is his long game of eventually undermining the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid, and making sure that the private sector for-profit insurance companies always come out on top.
If you're just joining us, we have Kate Duffy from Motherhood for Good, as well as Pat Kreitlow, who is the host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow right here on Civic Media Radio Network from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The one thing I wanted to make clear also in that video, because yes, there's a lot of things happening, there's a lot of noise. I'm going to post the video, Kate, that you put up explaining everything, but I also want to just let everyone know at the end of that video, he states clearly on what Pat was just saying, I would rather have people go to private insurance because there's no money for his campaign and for him through a public option. He wants to make sure those private guys are taken care of. Yep. And that, again, that's the other thing too, is like, are you lying or are you ill-informed? I think you're lying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, translation to that is he would like people on for-profit insurance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because business is the best, the marketplace is the best, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, it's so infuriating because she says, well, "Why don't you want to take care of poor people?" And Robin Voss just can't even muster up the energy to.
Well, it's more, but it's more like, well, there's already help for them.
Yeah.
They don't need any more help. It's already there. It's already there. It already exists if they would just take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But yes, Kate.
Well, that to the 40 women a year dying in that postpartum period. Robin Voss.
But they're pro-family. And they want more women to have a lot more babies. We should all be having more babies and being more pro-family and all that stuff. It's just, once you have it, we don't like to help. Then, well, come on, kid, you're on your own.
They barely like to help you while you're having the baby, and they'll do everything they can to get the baby, and then you're fine. Go away. Bye.
Right. It's the benevolent billionaire mindset of, your health care will be taken care of by the private sector or by donations. The same with your education. It's why we fight public education. It's why they fight public transportation. It's why they fight almost anything with public in front of it, is because to them it's taking food off the table of these billionaires who will otherwise take care of us.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather we take care of each other with our tax dollars and have good, responsible public servants who identify a problem like too many new moms dying and do something about it.
Well, and as you said,
Very
Kate,
interesting hill to die on.
Well, and what's really frustrating about that expanding that coverage for new moms is that that's a bipartisan thing that passed, as you pointed out when we first started talking, with a lot of support on both sides.
Yeah, support on both sides, but also it's in every single lobbying group that supports it is a cast of characters you would never imagine on the same bill together. You know, it's
bet.
the Catholic Association, Pro-Life Wisconsin, of course, physicians and ACLU and it's supported by everybody. So that's why I'm saying it doesn't make sense. It's a very interesting hill to die on. I don't know if he's just being stubborn and holding out or what.
But I saw something also this morning that said 30% of employers do not offer health insurance. So it's not like every company offers health insurance.
Mm-mm.
Not every company is in a position to do that. They don't.
I think that this goes back to what we've talked about in the past, which is when they had all the power in the world, they could do whatever they want. Once Fair Maps came into play and a few more Democrats got into power, they are going to do everything they can to deny Democrats any sort of say, and more importantly, deny Tony Evers any sort of win possible. And he will allow, as you put it, Kate, women to die every year to keep this from happening. And I think it's just, when you hear Republicans in the assembly openly say, I don't know why this isn't happening. And also from a political standpoint, Pat, you can attest to this. Take it home to your district, knock doors, and say, "Look what we did for you." This is Robin Voss being the worst version of a monster possible, and caring not at all about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like he knows he's going down and he's taking everybody with him.
Yep, I completely agree.
Do we really, because PJ on the live stream says Robin's up for re-election in 2027. Do we really think that Robin's finally done being king of the hill?
No, and it would be 2026, and the term would start in 2027. But he's going to stick to his ideological guns because he is an ideological extremist, and that's what they do. And they don't care if he goes down with the ship. He sees a long line of people who've been well cared for if they get defeated or leave office or things like that. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, looking at you, for example.
Yeah. Pat Kreitlow is here. Kate Duffy, the founder of Motherhood for Good. We have so much more on the way. Stay close. You are listening to Matt Nair on air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. We will be right back.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
Good morning and welcome back to Matt Nair on air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Mock, and Calvi Teeny on the board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Coming up an hour from now, we will wrap up the show, as we always do, with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it is the Boulder Dash edition. I highly encourage you to stick around for that. Right now, though, we are joined by Pat Kreitlow, host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, mornings 6 to 9 across the Civic Media Radio Network, and the founder of Motherhood for Good, Kate Duffy, is here as well.
And we were talking about earlier about this battle over statewide Medicaid access for pregnant people, and just in general, we don't expand. We haven't expanded the ACA coverage here in the state ever. Pregnant people have 60 days
60
after
days.
giving birth, but there's also a wider discussion we were talking about earlier, and one of the things, and I think what Robin Vos tries to do, and we see Congress and the Senate doing, is weaponizing this fight for Medicaid in the way of saying we're saving Medicaid, we're preserving Medicaid. And they like to talk about able-bodied people, which always gets me really upset because, as you just said, Jane, when 30% of businesses do not offer health insurance, it has nothing to do with able-bodied versus disabled. This has to do with the coverage you can access through your business. And big businesses like Walmart have been tracked and clocked as telling their employees, go on state aid. We don't want to give you health insurance. Go on state aid. It's better. While they get millions, tens of millions, if not billions in tax breaks, all those things. Some would call that corporate welfare. But
Some would.
Yes.
It's just it's what we're seeing now is that, making a poisonous narrative to push cuts to Medicaid that are going to affect everyone, including the people who voted for them.
And by the way, cuts that aren't necessarily explicit cuts, but by increasing those work requirements, those reporting requirements, as Kate can tell you, her hands are a little full right now as it is with the little one at home. Now imagine having to get online or fill out a form, and now you have to do it more often to prove that you've been working for 80 hours a month or whatever the case may be. And you finally you give up because you can't jump through all those hoops. And they say, you see, we didn't cut Medicaid.
Right.
Busy Kate decided she just couldn't fulfill the requirements anymore. She still needs it as much as ever.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what is happening and will happen if these women get cut off at 2 months, right? And this is actually why a lot of Republicans are for it, right? Because they know that, like, if these women drop off at 60 days, we know most of the postpartum deaths happen between 6 and 9 months. And beyond those, there's a lot of near-death experiences. There's a lot of situations where women end up in the emergency room. If they don't have insurance, that's not good for any of us as the state anyways, and having to pay for people who don't have
Emergency
insurance.
care. Sure.
So that's why they also support it. I think the fiscal estimate for this is like $20 million. And when we're looking at the overall biennial budget we have and the surplus we have, which is in the billions, it's literally like the tiniest fraction of that.
And just personally, the other thing that really annoys me to no end about this, I feel that there is this assumption by some that every woman's pregnancy experience is the same. And every pregnancy starts out great and it goes great and there's no problems and she gives birth and bingo, she's back. That's not reality.
No, it is not. And I say that as the husband of an OBGYN. And we have, of course, another OBGYN, Dr. Kristen Lyerly, on all the time. And Kate, you talk to, countless moms. And the fact that there are still politicians who promote this Norman Rockwell version of pregnancy that is free of complications.
Yep.
And it doesn't just affect the coverage. We talked yesterday about how Iowa is the latest state to require people to watch a human growth development video that is riddled with inaccuracies so that they can have this cartoon depiction of how wonderful every pregnancy is. That just ain't so.
No, it's not. And even like my representative is a Republican, and one of the staffers I talk to all the time when I call tells me how his wife really dealt with postpartum depression very bad for a year. And so it's just like there are stories all over the place. And by the way, when we lose these moms, these kids are losing their moms.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
we're not just letting them fall through the cracks. It's causing trauma to a child and an entire family. And we know the stats on what happens when a child that young grows up with trauma. They end up, not only is it bad for them personally, but they have a higher rate of landing in poverty, incarceration, things like that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we have to bring in Joni Ernst to say, well, we're all going to die anyway. Because that's the mindset we're getting from Republicans like Joni Ernst.
And Kate, the way you ended that is how whenever we talk about Robin Vos and this topic, I always end up with a huge crescendo, always petering out with, because I just want to say to him, why don't you care about people? What is it about you that makes you not care about the well-being of the individuals who live in the state that you claim to represent? Everything you do in your job seems like you dislike us and want nothing for us, because this right here, supported by so many, as you said, Kate, a wild cast of characters. He's just like, no, I don't think so.
Well, I was at the Senate hearing when this went through their health committee, and Representative Pat Snyder was in there, who's a Republican. And he said, if we can't get behind this, then what the hell are we doing here?
Wow.
Like, if we, and it's like,
I just agreed with him.
I know.
There is bipartisanship.
I know. I'm agreeing with Rand Paul lately. What's going on in this world? Kate Duffy is the founder of Motherhood for Good. We will include that clip in our show notes so you can take a look at the just warm way Robin Voss interacts with the lovely Luann Bird. Pat Kreitlow, the host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, 6 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday across the network. Thank you so very much for joining us, both of you. News is coming up next, and when we return, we're to talk about board games are good for you. That's all on the way. Don't go away. You're listening to Matt Nair on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.